What's up, everybody? Welcome back to Gamestars League Day 10. We are in our second day of elimination right before we get to our international finals, and what a day it's going to be. Yesterday, we saw some insane back and forth battles. We eliminated half of our other players from groups A through D, and today we're going to do the rest through E through H. What's up, everyone? I'm Andrew Guy. Joining me today is our strategist, our analyst, our former world champion head coach, Eric Benamou. What's up, brother? Today is going to be nuts.
Yeah, I'm really excited. I even got a haircut for the first time in like 3 months for this day. You know, we're looking good. And today, look, we get to see two people that are actually really good with these heavy decks in Eternity. In Abdullah plays completely different than Eternity. We saw someone that plays very, very calm, someone that plays very hyper aggressive. And apart from that, we have I'm pretty sure the strongest groups, right? We saw them progress, and I don't know if it was that they saw the other groups or they understood the format a little better, but the matches with these groups were so close that I'm really excited for today.
We started off with 32 players just a couple weeks ago. We've whittled it down to 20, and today we're going to bring it down to 16 to take it to our international finals, where people will be battling it out for the lion's share of over $30,000. And one thing that was really fascinating yesterday, Eric, was when we talked to Predator. Congratulations to Predator for getting second place yesterday. He told us that the decks that he had chosen were actually of the old meta, but they were his comfort decks. Most everyone else has adjusted, and they picked meta decks for this competition.
Yeah, and it definitely didn't hurt him as much just because his opponent didn't have as many of these cards as we're looking at. If he would have gone up against some of the players that we might see today, they have a lot more Mother Witch, Elite Barbarians, and those could really cause problems for old meta decks. You really want to include at least 1 to 2 of these cards, if not 3, with the NATO being included into that. The Mother Witch and the Elite Barbarians, you can't go wrong with them.
And you guys may be wondering why we keep showing you these cards and these decks. Is because they're so very important here in Gamestars League. Every single player has to bring 3 decks to the competition for the finals and for the group stage. So right now, everyone that played their decks on their initial day, they have to play them again today, which is why these win rates and selection rates matter. Every player in these decks, they can repeat 6 of the same cards, but 2 of them has to be unique in each one of their 3 decks, and they have to win with all 3 of them. And these have been the most popular, and the win rates have been changing quite a bit, other than the one in the top left there. Still doing really, really well is that Mega Knight dual lane pressure deck.
Yeah, that Mega Knight, since day one, we've seen it just perform, and it's what we spoke about when we first saw it. It just has a ton of good matchups. It's not a lot of times where you see, okay, this is a hard counter I can't get out of, like we've seen with other decks. And usually we've seen some Golem in here and a little bit of other archetypes, but yesterday we did see Predator use these mortars so many times that obviously the selection rate went up a lot. But today, with that lava, with the Golem that we're going to see, I'm sure those will come back into play.
So we have our 8 players at the top of your screen there from groups A, B, C, and D. Lucas and Blaz, Sokol and Denbeer, Burkan, Demas, Financier, and Predator. Those are the 8 making it through for our first 4 groups today. We will be seeing all the 2nd and 3rd place players battling it out. Aslan and Rufy, Beneficious, Inthril, Demon Chocolate, Eternity, and Abdullah, Imad, and of course, No Fun. All of those guys will be playing in best of 5s today. Half of them will be eliminated from the tournament. The other half will be moving on. And I think it's going to be a really, really interesting matchup discussion here, because these guys all play so very differently, Eric.
They do, and for 2 of these groups in the last 2, they just played, right? They literally, it's been 2 days since they played, so it's fresh in their mind. They know exactly what they're going up against, but at the same time, they haven't had that much time to prepare. Yesterday's players, they had over a week and a half to prepare, to make sure they practice against the decks they're going against, because you cannot switch the decks from the original selection. So it's going to be a little more of how quickly can a player adjust, how quickly can you figure out why you're in this position and not in first place, and it's going to be all about that adaptation.
Yeah, this is going to be a very, very big display of whether or not Rufy was able to adapt over the last few days. Aslan 3-0'd him in their initial meeting, and today they will be going up against each other once again, and it really did feel like in that initial matchup that Rufy was just outplayed. So we'll see how that fares here as we look at the decks. Eric, what do you think about this matchup discussion?
Well, I really like the lava deck that he's using here. It matches up well overall. He doesn't have that many air defense other than the mortar deck that does have the musketeer with the royal delivery, but still, if the push is big enough, he could do so much damage with it. And the Mega Knight deck is the one that we were kind of iffy on, right, when we saw it the first time. Ram Rider, Mega Knight, why are you using that? That's not really something we see, but hey, 100% win rate, I'll take it.
Yeah, and you know, Rufy here, as you can see, did play very, very well with that mortar deck. It does have delivery, it does have poison, and as you said, musketeer to help with those air battles. I'd be surprised if he runs that one out first, because it can give him such a good matchup down the road, and it does seem like it is his best deck. But you know, we'll find out once him and Aslan do face off against one another. That is going to be our first matchup of the day, and of course we do have a handful of other ones. It's going to be Rufy and Aslan first, then Inthrill and Beneficius. Then we're going to go to Demon Chocolate and Eternity. And lastly, it'll be Abdullah, Imad, and No Fun. But here we go. Game one, match one of our second day, our 10th day of competition, and our second day of elimination. And Aslan decides to go mortar first.
Yeah, we're going to see a mirror match, a mortar mirror match to start off the day for us today. And this is actually pretty good for Gene Aslan, because if he does win this, he takes out a deck that could pretty much make him struggle in his other two. The mortars do defend well against the Ram Riders and tank well with that Valk against the Mega Knight. So this is not all that bad for him. And if he can actually start off with this mirror match win, especially against that Rufy 100% win rate with this one, it's a big advantage for him.
Yeah, and that's kind of why I was hoping that Rufy would maybe go with a different deck first, just because he could maybe be looking for a matchup down the road, and it did feel like Aslan was a smart enough player to not just bust out with Lava Hound in his first deck, because he knew there was a potential for a very bad matchup, which is why I think Aslan goes to his most control-heavy deck in this Mortar deck. But like you said, it's going to be a mirror match, and we'll see how this fares for Rufy. Rufy did struggle a bit against Aslan in their first meeting, obviously going down 0-3. And when you have mirror matchups, that's usually one of the biggest displays of just straight skill and understanding of a deck.
Yeah, especially with these type of mirror matchups that the starting hand isn't all that big of a factor. When you're playing a mirror lava, a mirror golem, and one person has it in hand and they go straight up with it first play, and the other person doesn't have it, you basically already lost the mirror match. But here it's a very fast cycle, right? So it doesn't really matter who has the better starting hand, it's who can make the right plays, offensive and defensive mortars.
So we see a naked poison on the tower there from Rufy, which is a bit of a surprise for me. A high Valkyrie here to tank for Aslan. He does get a miner down on the tower, Rufy does, but that mortar will get one shot on the tower. Other than that, log comes down and takes it off the board. Rufy, though, down by a good amount of elixir.
Yeah, that was a very odd poison. I understand that he's trying to get chipped, but at that point, I think it's better hold it for a little bit until you have your miner in your hand as well, and then combo it, because he was able to defend the Rufy's miner with the skellies, knowing that there was no poison in hand. You want to get the most value. It's not how quickly you get it, but how much can you get.
Yeah, and it does feel like the skeletons from Rufy would be a really nice card to use a little bit more to distract the mortar or to catch the miners, but he's been playing them up high quite a bit and just not getting as much out of them as Aslan has been getting. Aslan's been doing a great job of catching miners with them, getting damage on the board. There we go. Skelly split to distract the mortar for just a second.
Yeah, and that mortar is going to hit the muskie. It's going to take it off the board, and that's a really good overall interaction for him, because now I'm not sure that miner came in time, and that actually might send the mortar onto tower, and it does.
Yeah, it didn't look like that miner was in time, and we see delivery come down here from Aslan to just make sure that miner doesn't get too much chip damage. Now, obviously, both towers at 1400, more damage does feel like it's been done by Rufy across the board, but that tower ticking down below 700 HP is going to be trouble.
Yeah, in these matchups, you don't really want to go split lane, because 99% of the time, unless something very, very weird happens, you're not going to go to a two-tower game. And that's why you see Aslan just continue to attack the same one at every point. even when the mortars from Roofy came in on the right side, he never tried to get damage there. He was like, okay, I'll defend it, and then I'm gonna go left side.
And now it's as if Roofy has recognized what he needs to change in the game, but it is going to be too little too late. Miner does go in on the tower with a poison there to get some good damage in, but a poison comes in here from Aslan. Log comes in as well, and he might send in a Miner. There is the Miner. He calls good game, and that's exactly what it is. Rough matchup there in game, or not rough matchup, rough plays there in game number 1 with a pretty good matchup for Roofy, considering, you know, it is a mirror match and it was his best deck, but Aslan just outplayed him there.
He did, and he understood the matchup best. And how many times have we said that in this tournament? Whoever understands what they have to do usually ends up winning. And here it's not that he didn't get enough damage. He got almost the same amount of damage, but he split it completely up in 2 lanes. And in a 1-tower game, that's just not going to help you at all. It's not the only time I would suggest that in a 1-tower game is if you have a wall breaker style deck, because you can get that 800, 900 damage off one good split lane push. Here, that's just not going to happen.
Yeah, and you know, you called it during the game that Roofy was splitting his damage too much. Aslan was totally happy, sacrificing a little bit of damage here and there, splitting the damage in each lane. And then he was able to just keep the pressure and the focus on that 1 tower the whole time, which the most of the damage honestly came in from Miner Chip plus Poison, and a couple great mortar connections in there with maybe just a little bit of off interactions from Roofy, late Miner, not using the skeletons as much to distract. The Musketeer from Aslan was always ready to go for Roofy's mortar, which is the other thing that it felt like Roofy did not use or utilize to his utmost.
Yeah, and it's the tiny little interactions as well that when you see it or when you do it, you don't really think of the after effects of it, like that naked poison that he threw down. What did that cause? That caused a 1 elixir defense onto a Miner that would have never happened if he didn't do that poison. And the poison gets the same value whether it's on troops, if it's not, it's so just hold it. Those little interactions will change the game and give way too much elixir value to Aslan.
Yeah, I mean, Eric, is there ever a situation where in single elixir you're just naked spelling the tower with a spell that costs more than 3 elixir?
I don't think you ever naked spell a tower no matter what if you have a Miner poison deck, unless that poison is to end the game. It just makes no sense, because you're always going to force out a defense if you Miner, right? So you just get that extra value. You're going to Miner anyway, and you're going to poison anyway. Do it together.
So here we go, Roofy rocking back the same deck that we just saw. Aslan says a wow at the top of the game, and now recognizing the situation that he's in, Ram Rider going up against Mortar and Mega Knight. It's going to be all about whether or not Roofy can keep these Mega Knights at bay and make sure he doesn't give too much value to these Mega Knights, especially when they're leaping. We're going to see a high Valkyrie here to come out in defense. Would have liked to see it just a little lower so that that Electro Wizard wasn't so well defended by the bridge.
Yeah, and he's gonna always, if he ever gets himself out of cycle with that Valk, it's game over. He needs to save it for the Mega Knight. He has nothing else that can actually stop it and tank it. And like you said, play it a little bit lower just to give yourself more room to work with on your end. There's no rush at the bridge.
Yeah, and those bridge battles, losing those bridge battles, and a second Mega Knight coming down as we move later into the game is where we'll see Roofy in a lot of trouble. Like you said, if that Valkyrie's out of cycle and a good counter push comes in, he's in a lot of trouble. So here we go, about to tick into double elixir time, about a 500 HP lead in favor of Roofy.
Yeah, and look at Aslan really taking advantage of that Valk being down already, because not only does it have damage on it, but that Mega Knight's gonna leap. Usually when you play that as a tank defender, the placement won't let it leap, and it's all downhill. We spoke about it. If that Valk comes down too early or it's not in the right cycle versus the Mega Knight, you cannot defend.
Wow, Roofy does get that mortar down just in time to pull the Inferno Dragon over. A very, very healthy Ram Rider does get on tower, but no charge. And honestly, that was a phenomenal recovery from Roofy.
It was 100%, but he's in trouble again. That Valk is now all the way in the back of the rotation, and the Mega Knight is completely healthy. He's going to have to cycle all the way through, and he cannot mortar there. That is way too much fireball value, and he got lucky that it came down before that Miner went in.
So Miner off the board, Musketeer off the board. Valkyrie can come down, but a mortar has to, because the Ram Rider is in. Now maybe we see a high Valkyrie here to distract. No skeletons to make sure the Inferno stays at bay. Nice play there. Musketeer going to clean the Inferno off the board with just one little sizzle in. Roofy's still technically in the lead,
holding,
but this
yeah.
cycle is in trouble.
Yeah, right now he's playing the holding game. He's definitely not comfortable in the matchup at all. He's trying to survive and live off the early damage, and then maybe win it with some minor poisons at the end, which is what you have to do once you're in this cycle. There's no real solution other than that, but that Ram Rider goes straight to tower on the left and forces a log.
Yeah, that Ram Rider is going to get a good amount of damage in. Musketeer's going to come off the board with the help of this Mother Witch. Piggy gets on tower, and now we see Aslan taking the lead here with a very, very nice play. Valkyrie out of cycle. Inferno Dragon sizzled it off the board, and not enough elixir for a Mega Knight, but the lead has swung towards Aslan.
Yeah, that little Hoggies, it's so frustrating because you can't even defend it. If you defend it, you basically lost, because what, you're spending 3-4 elixir on a card that didn't cost anything. That Mother Witch already got its value. Good catch on top of that for the miner, and everything is just going well for Aslan.
Yeah, and I honestly think one of the worst things about that last interaction for Roofy was he sent in his miner and it turned the Mega Knight around, which almost reset Aslan's push and allowed him to put more elixir down behind that Mega Knight Inferno Dragon, which was mainly that Mother Witch, which we saw come out at the end there with the Piggy on tower. So Aslan pouring it on here. Roofy defending pretty well, but it does feel like the wheels are going to fall off relatively soon. That mortar just gets eaten alive.
Yeah, it didn't even get one hit off on anything, and now he's just spraying out these Mega Knights on the bridge, relentless, honestly. But that minor chip is a lot of chip that he just got in, and look, I don't think he'll be able to cycle another one, but if he does, he would have had a chance. It's just a little too late. I mean, he cycled it, but at the cost of not defending, which is basically not cycling it.
Yeah, he had a little bit more time there to defend, which he probably needed to go one more defensive cycle before he decided to stick with and stay on offense. And this is a lot of what we saw in their first time out. It's not even that Roofy's playing terribly. It's just that his interactions aren't quite as clean as Aslan's, which are very, very good. And it's also a little surprising to see Aslan falling into this matchup because he did seem so dominant on his initial day. But obviously the winner of that group put him up to the task.
Yeah, and it came down to that Valkyrie. I still think it's crazy to think that in such a long game, such an early interaction was a problem. But when he used that Valk on the first bandit that the Skellies didn't take care of, everything just seemed to fall out of place for him. He was in a very good spot early on. He was up almost 600 damage points. And I think at that point, you either take the bandit hit or you drop something else. You have your delivery ready, because ever since that one interaction, it seemed like Aslan took control of the cycle of the game, and it was just little by little getting damage and damage and damage. And Roofy played well, but those tiny micro interactions can cost you.
Yeah, and that's like a big understanding of the macro, right? Aslan immediately recognizing when Roofy made a mistake, and he never relented from that point on. Like you said, that one small interaction, Aslan recognized it, and he goes, okay, if I can just keep him in this same cycle, if I can keep that Valkyrie out of where it needs to be, I am in a very good spot. And that's exactly what he did. And again, that's why it doesn't feel like he's leaps and bounds above Roofy. It just feels like his understanding of the macro is better. But a really nice flying machine connection here on that right-hand side. Aslan allowing a lot of damage to come in, but a very, very healthy counter push.
Seems like Aslan is going with the Abdullah strategy here. Yeah. I'll figure out the defense in another lifetime. Right now, I'm just going to go full-on attack, and that's what he's going to do. But will it pay off is the real question. He does get a nice fireball onto the Mother Witch and takes care of almost every Zappy. It's not that bad of interaction overall for Aslan. Look at the elixir on top of it.
Yeah, elixir's in a good spot. That zap there at the end allows a lot more damage to come in. And as you just pointed out, Eric, the elixir, he's got a 2 elixir advantage here, down by just a little bit of HP on the right-hand side, and a lot on the left is Aslan, but a lot of elixir and a Lava Hound back on the board. And this doesn't feel great for Roofy. We'll see how he wants to defend.
Yeah, I don't know if I love these elite barbarians. We've seen every time someone puts a lava in the back and you do have elite barbarians in your deck, you want to punish. You really want to get in there and force out a lot of defense. And look what happens now. He doesn't really get any damage. He didn't really force out much either. He forced out a Skarmy because this Inferno Dragon was going to come in behind the Lava Hound regardless of any push from the other side.
Very, very nice zap again in there from Aslan. Actually going to take this flying machine off the board as well. And it feels like it's going to be second verse, same as the first here for Roofy. A 3-0 for Aslan. And It was really, really difficult there, right? You see that Lava Hound come down in the back, and one of the things you were talking about yesterday, Eric, is that he had no way of punishing. He had no way of really baiting out a response from Roofy, because Roofy did have those elite barbarians, but his Fireball was out of cycle, right? Fireball's out of cycle. Bar Barrel's not going to reach the Skarmy no matter where you place it, unless you place it at the bridge, which Aslan would never do. So those split E-barbs become even less impactful.
Yeah, they're completely irrelevant. And I think at that point, what I would have liked to see, honestly, we know that if we know their decks, they know each other's decks, right? You know there's a Skarmy and you know there's an Inferno Dragon. Let that right-hand side tower go and play a Mega Knight Zappies on the bridge. The Fireball is not going to go onto that. It was used on the Mother Witch, and there's no way that he could defend with the Skarmy onto the Mega Knight. And I think that would have been a better choice. He was full on Elixir. We know it was in cycle because he had never used the Mega Knight yet. And it might have been just a lack of understanding of the defenses that Aslan had.
So here we go, 2-tower game. Roofy does extend it. E-Barb split in the pocket. Very odd split there from the E-Barb. Skarmy going to come down and make a very easy cleanup for a +3 trade there. A Fireball comes out offensively for Aslan. Miner going to take this off the board, and that is going to do it. Roofy is going to be eliminated from contention, and a big part of that was that man right there, Aslan. 3-0 and 3-0, a big 6-0 in the tournament for Roofy against that man. Very, very clean stuff.
Yeah, not a bad way to start off the weekend for yourself. A nice 3-0. You're moving on to the next stage. And I don't think he really did anything wrong at any point. There was no mistakes, because we've seen winners create mistakes from opponents and have mistakes of their own. Aslan played a very, very clean game every time. He didn't do anything special. There wasn't anything that I could go back and say, oh my god, greatest play, but he understood every single matchup. It looked like he really studied how to win each one, and it paid off.
It's like one of those situations when you're playing in a grand challenge or even on ladder, and you recognize that every interaction goes in your opponent's favor, and then you end the game and you look at their profile and you're like, oh wow, you're like a top 100 player, or you're oh wow, you've been first in the global tournament. That's kind of how it felt like in this situation. It wasn't that Roofy played poorly, it was just that Aslan really understand the macro a lot better, and he always had a great response. You know, even there at the end when we were talking about those E-Barbs coming in to punish, Aslan knew they weren't a threat. He knew he had the Skarmy. He knew that Roofy didn't have a big spell. So there was really a lot of understanding of the macro of the game that made these sets very simple for Aslan. So now Aslan gets to sit back, hang out. We'll see him at international finals. He gets to pick new decks. So we'll see if he wants to rock the exact same 3. I'd be very, very surprised. And you know, big congratulations here to Roofy from Poland. That's going to be it from him at Gamestars League, and hopefully we'll see more of him in the future. But as of right now, Gene, Aslan, and Broken are the 2 from Group E to move forward.
And Aslan is actually one of those players that I don't even mind. Like, I think he has very good deck choice in general. So if he does want to switch it up, but I don't see him struggling. He has 3 completely different archetypes. The only one I don't love is that Ram Rider, just because it's not really in the meta right now. But props to him also on that. A lot of this format is picking your decks, and it doesn't seem like he had that many bad matchups. He had a deck for every situation. So I think that worked in his favor, apart from what you said with that macro and micro knowledge of the game.
Yeah, and I really do love the conversation around decks in CRL with duels and here in Gamestars League with our kind of unique format. I think it's a really, really important thing, and that's honestly why we keep showing you these graphics, because I think the conversation is really fascinating. You saw there in that last game, the best matchup that Roofy had was with that Mortar deck against the Lava deck, right? And that was, I think, the only time he actually didn't play it. Yeah. Right? He played it against the Mega Knight deck, he played it against the Mirror matchup, but he didn't actually play it against that Lava deck. So the conversation of the decks you choose and when you pick them is really, really important. As we get into our next matchup today from Group F, it's going to be Beneficious and In Thrill. So when we take a look at the decks that they brought to competition earlier this week, you know, they played pretty well, but they ran into the force that was One Hive Hunter. I mean, this guy was unstoppable. He was dialed in. Anything that you have to say of note from Group F, Eric?
No, I mean, this group was just completely dominated by One Hive Hunter, from deck choice to gameplay to everything. I think since the first game that we saw from One Hive, we already knew, like, okay, this guy just came in on another level. I think he was the best player from all the group stage that we've seen to date, and it was dominant. But at the end of the day, if you're In Thrill and Beneficious, that doesn't matter anymore. Okay, he won the group. I need to focus here on what I have in front of me. I need to get this win. And right now, they've already played each other, if I'm not mistaken, and it was a 3-2, so it's anyone's game.
Yeah, Veneficious and Inthril, they did get a 3-2. Veneficious did move forward and play against one Hive Hunter, and these were the decks that they played against one another. And, you know, when you look at the matchups, it does feel like Veneficious is in a decent place. But again, it's all about those Golem decks. It really does seem like the Golem decks have been such just a detriment to success from any player. So we'll see if Inthril is going to bust that out early on and try to get it out of the way. I honestly do think that that Golem deck against the Mortar deck can be a good matchup if he plays it correctly.
I completely agree with you. It's been the story of Gamestars. Can you play the Golem deck the way it's meant to be played? And we know the answer. What happens when it is played the right way? It's usually ends up in a win. We saw it from Eternity, and we've seen it one or two other times. So it's all about patience. You had time to really see your mistakes. Now take advantage of the fact that, like you said, it doesn't really have that bad of a matchup. It just had bad play.
So an early lightning out here from Inthril, who will be running that Golem deck. He takes that Musketeer off the board, and I really like this Mortar coming down, knowing that his opponent wouldn't have enough Elixir to get the Golem on the board, now kind of messing up his offensive sequence as we move forward.
Yeah, and that early lightning is very aggressive and very risky. Like you said, when you said I really like, I got a little bit nervous. I was like, don't say I really like that lightning, because I don't like it. And then you said I really like the Mortar, and I completely agree with you. That Mortar was very well played. He did get extra damage here. I'm not sure why he didn't, you know, over defend a little bit, because 2 hits from an elite barbarian is 5 hits from a Mortar.
And that's actually really kind of unfortunate here for Veneficious when you talk about getting damage in on a tower, and he's going to double down on this lane. But now he's making the decision for his opponent that much easier, right? I'm going to Golem in this lane. You put in a lot of work. You just send in your miner. Now you have to go for an awkward push here in the right-hand lane, which is going to be pretty easily defended by this Night Witch. Would have been nice to get that behind the Golem, but maybe that's just the situation of Inthrill's cycle. I think Veneficious needs to be okay with getting minor chip damage in the opposite lane for a lot of the rest of this game.
Yeah, now it's going to get tough for him. I don't think he did enough damage early on to where he can just rely on sitting back, and that's why you see him go offensive right now. It's going to be a little tricky for him, especially knowing, look, there's lightning in my opponent's hand. I cannot play the high Mortar because he can actually lightning my Mortar and tower and just continuously get damage. So like you said, I don't think he put himself in the greatest position, and I do think the good thing that came out of all that is he forced out the Night Witch, which if went behind the Golem, I'm pretty sure it would have been game over.
Yeah, I think so. I think that really, if anything else would have come out from Inthril in response for the Valkyrie, it would have been a better situation for him damage-wise, but luckily for Veneficious, that is not the case. Fireball comes in, and this does feel like where things are going to start to fall off the rails here for Veneficious. Just overspend on offense, not defending correctly. He misses a bat there. Musketeer has to come down, giving lightning value once again. There's the lightning value. Baby Dragon is very healthy, and this is the moment where Ruben would probably just start bridge spamming.
Yeah, I don't know if you saw the timing on that, but he got so lucky. The shield on the recruit came off 1 millisecond after the lightning hit. If that recruit wouldn't have been there tanking for the Baby Dragon, that would have been at least 300 more damage and probably lightning range. So another fortunate interaction, but you can't keep depending on these fortunate runs for yourself.
And I like what Inthril's doing here. He definitely could have lightninged once again, but recognizes that that's not going to win the game for him. He decides to reset here his Golem push. Going to get a Golem probably in front of this Night Witch up high. Once that Muskie, no, he decides to go Baby Dragon instead. A little bit of off timing there with those 2 units.
Yeah, I'm not really sure why he did that, and now Goleming in the back. It's a little bit of odd play here at the end, and it could be the early nerves, right? They kind of get in your head, and you're, okay, don't throw this game, don't choke. He's getting close, he's getting close. No, man, you got this. Just finish off the match.
There we go. Lightning takes that Mortar off the board. Second Mortar comes down, a high Mortar this time, and that Musketeer does stay. No, it does not stay alive. That is really, really unfortunate for Veneficious. He gets the Valkyrie down, but that Golem will get on tower for death damage. Log comes in to push it back. Still, tons of trouble here on the bottom of your screen.
And this I really like. Push, push, push. This is what you said. This is where Ruben turns it into that bridge spam. And if you realize, wow, that was actually a really good lightning.
What a beautiful lightning. Beneficius goes in with a miner. He doesn't even think about the lightning coming down to clean up his defense off the board. E-barb all the way through. And Eric, I think that does kind of go back to what you said early in that game. Why didn't Beneficius over-defend on the very first E-barb that got away? It would have made that final few moments a lot less stressful for him.
It definitely would have, and it also would have let him dictate the game a little bit more. At that point, he put himself in a situation where there is no way Inthril goes on the other lane. He just got 700 damage on that tower, and he knows it's not going to be easy to get the golems to actually connect. So you just made a decision for him that you're going to push the same lanes as each other, and that never works out well for the miner player in this situation. You want to be able to get the Night Witch onto a different side. You want to be able to get those support troops out of the way, and at this point all you were doing was piling it on.
Yeah, and that is like something that I was kind of curious about as the game went on was, you know, are we going to see a little bit more pressure in the opposite lane from Beneficius? I said it early on because I didn't want him to just keep going in the same lane as the golem, but you know, it felt like once he got into double and triple, there was more of an opportunity to create that pressure, but he just spent it all on defense.
Yeah, and it looks like he's coming out with the same deck again. And I mean, I don't know if he's trying to get it out of the way or what he's trying to do, but he can. This is one of those decks where we saw it be successful when you make sure to take full control. If it means over defending, you gotta over defend. These decks are all about not taking damage because you're not doing tons of damage at the same time.
Yeah, one of the more fascinating things that you had said to me this week was when you talked about the way that Igor played, and he's like, you have no idea how tilting it is to another player to just keep defending with your mortar and chipping with the miner. He loves that style of play, and it's honestly a great way to look at how to play mortar decks, is if you could just frustrate your opponent into making mistakes by defending always with that mortar and just chipping away with the miner. I mean, he's the best in the world for a reason.
Yeah, we saw it even in the last game when Beneficius really doubled down on defense and spent that little extra elixir. There was nothing that was actually getting on tower, even with the lightning being used. So you know you could defend perfectly, and that mortar hit is really nice to, you know, get that little extra damage. And if that musketeer turns around, it does, but too little too late.
Yeah, fireball comes in, cleans it up off the board. Nice barb barrel in here,
Wow,
and that's actually
yeah.
be some great damage from Inthril, who's going to pour it on. Bandit at the bridge. Miner's going to come in. That miner is going to go off the board. Bandit should be completely mitigated. Very, very nice stuff there from Inthril. Big uppercut thrown here before we get into double.
That was a beautiful barb barrel. Very, very heads up play. And it's those little plays that really win you the game, especially when you know the damage is so important when you're going up against this mortar deck. We said it over and over again. Beneficius, you're playing a control miner deck. You cannot take damage. And yes, it came out of a great play from Inthril, but those are the little things that when you play these type of decks, we saw it from Predator, we've seen it from Lapo, we've seen it from Igor. That cannot happen. You need to think of all these situations.
Yeah, and that's exactly what happened at the end of last game, right? Beneficius goes in with the miner offensively. He doesn't think that his opponent is going to go that aggressive with the lightning, and it happens. And like you said, the best players in the world, the best mortar players in the world, they're always thinking 2-3 steps ahead of the worst case scenario. So they always have enough elixir in response, and then they send in the miner.
Yeah, and just a little, it seems like he's a little unsure of what he wants to do. I've seen him leak once or twice defensively, and with these quick cycle mortar decks that are so defensive, every elixir counts. You need to keep on moving, make quick decisions. Maybe you don't make the right one, but it's better than not making one at all. So he needs to continuously just defend here, and I don't know how much longer he's going to actually be able to hold on.
Yeah, I mean, he somehow ends up not taking any damage there, but he is down in elixir, so you see Inthril resetting with a Mega Knight in the back. Correct decision there, and now a mortar comes out offensively here from Beneficius. Mother Witch in response, fireball on top. Bandit going to dash to tower.
That's on tower.
He misses the skeletons. That is a bummer, but he does get a nice mortar hit.
And he calls out the good game right now. I'm not really sure if he's just
got nothing to defend.
He does well, he did for a second, you know.
Yeah, he did for a second, but it is now the case of Beneficius 2 games in a row, and this one maybe a little bit more glaring than the first. Just overspending on an offense as the clock is ticking down. I mean, you have to remember, yes, you're in triple elixir, but so is your opponent, and his deck was a lot heavier than yours, and that is exactly a testament to what you were just talking about. You have to over defend with that deck, because you only need 3 elixir to create offense, right? And that comes instantly in double and triple.
Exactly, and you always have it in cycle. It's just a matter of defending. Before you know it, you're back to that miner. It's so quick and it's so easy, and you all you have to do is focus on defense. And I think that's the biggest mistake that Beneficious is doing here. He's focusing on offense when you have a defensive deck. You cannot do that. 2 games in a row, he's taken 500 to 600 to 700 damage in single elixir. That is not the way you play this mortar deck.
He's lacking the discipline that you need to be a great miner player. You watch Lapo, you watch Igor, you watch B-Rad, you watch Morton, you watch Surgical. They all do the same thing. And what's that? If a miner gets 1 hit, awesome. If it gets 2, great. I'm probably going to win the game. Let's just do that for 4 more minutes and over defend, over defend. And I'd love to see more of that out of Beneficious if he's going to continue to play this deck. But to be honest, I'd love to see him switch it up as well. I feel like right now that deck is just not doing it for him. And the things that you're talking about and that I'm speaking on, Eric, is just that miner is all you need. That 3 elixir is all you need. The rest of your elixir has to be spent defensively. So let's reset. Let's get a different deck out, and we'll see what Beneficious here has for Thrill in his elimination game.
And I really like that he switched decks, because it seems like he created a little bit of a mental block with that deck for himself. And that's when you just kind of, you got to breathe. And this is not the start that you want when you want to breathe. You don't want to scar me into a Mother Witch. But overall, decent defense here with the Baby Dragon. It did force out a lot out of him, but he has Elite Barbarians that are pretty healthy as well. And look, not a bad start.
Yeah, not a bad start. Miner going to go in here, and you see Beneficious once again. He's just too offensively focused. He sends in the miner. I believe he was at 7 elixir instead of 10, and now he has to spend. I mean, actually, his opponent gives him a nice. Well, maybe. Yeah. Oh wow!
It just. Look, I don't like to go. He gives that frustrated smile, and it's not like I want to go in on Beneficious, but the Ewiz was down already. What was the play with the miner, right? Like, why there? You didn't have more tower damage. If you do want to miner the other lane, but you didn't even miner the Ewiz. You just minored where the Ewiz could defend. And it just, you need to really play better if you're going to move on in this tournament.
Yeah, it's just about the care and interactions, just waiting that 1 second longer, holding that 1 second longer to make sure that your unit is going exactly where it needs to be. And I like the play there. The Barb Barrel comes in up high. The Skarmy is down low. Nice defense there, and we get a good Lava Hound push in the opposite lane. As we tick into double, we see the Miner come in on top of that Ewiz and maybe a Fireball on the Mother Witch, and that's a really, really good push here.
I really like what he did there, and that's what you need to see. I don't like that he was a little too early. I don't think it was necessary, and it's gonna die now because of how early he played it. So now he's taking control, and he's forcing the mistakes out of Inthril, and it seems to be the name of the game right now. Who can force more mistakes out of their opponent?
Really nice zap there. Inthril does the correct thing and does not over-defend. He lets the E-Barbs go to town on his tower. Had he over-defended in that moment, it would have been a perfect opportunity for Beneficious to get a Lava Hound back on the board. We'll see where he drops the Skarmy this time. Maybe in the center of the map. He goes low, Mother Witch high. I like the adjustment by Inthril.
Yeah, that was very risky, knowing that he has a Skarmy, and it forced out that Fireball from him. And I really, really like these E-Barbs. It's going to force E-Barbs out of him as well, and it's going to let him breathe a little bit, get a little bit of, nice Fireball.
That Fireball, Eric, that Fireball. 357 remains, 408. Miner in on that top right tower. Is Inthril gonna drop it? He does.
Wow, that was actually a very, very nice Fireball, and I like the adjustment, but I think towards the end of the game, Beneficious realized he has no defense for a Lava. He actually cannot defend. So I'm just gonna Lava, and as long as I can hold the tower, whether it be 200 HP or not, I'm good. And he realized that, and finally we saw a little bit of that bright spot.
Exactly. That was the defense that we needed to see from him, right? He recognized how much of an offensive presence he could create on the board. He did just that, and then he spent all the rest of his elixir defending. And then if he had any leftovers, then he could double down on his offense. You saw how late that miner came in on top of that Ewiz, and then he had enough elixir for the Fireball, for the Mother Witch. All of those things came because he was just a little bit more patient. And as we go into the next game here, we can take a look at these decks and the matchup so far. Lava Hound deck out of contention. Hopefully we see that second deck from Beneficious. I still want him to hold that mortar. I really do.
I agree with you, especially knowing that you have him, and that's not the start you want. Okay, let's go. Beneficious, you need to reset. That never happened. Your tower bugged and it just spawned. The game started with 700 HP less. Nothing really happened. That's how you have to go about it mentally. And I agree with you that that other deck, that second deck, is great because it has Mother Witch and you know what you're going up against as well. I don't know. I think it defends better as well.
So we're going to see this no-win condition deck here out of Thrill. He played it very, very well on his first day of competition. We see a Mortar come down along with a Royal Delivery, but a lot of Elixir was spent here by Beneficious. And again, yep, he's going to take damage on the right-hand side. Mother Witch is going to spawn piggies, and this has kind of been the story of Beneficious's day, just overly aggressive and then getting punished for it.
And it's the defenses that are not clean. And the biggest problem with these decks, the reason why people say these decks are so high skill and they love to see them, is not because they're high skill when it comes to offense. It's high skill when it comes to defense. One little interaction that is wrong and it's just all downhill for them. And we've seen it in 3 matches already.
Beneficious spends 9 Elixir for 6 on the left-hand side. He does have a counter push out of it, and luckily that cannon cart does go down at the bridge, but Thrill goes, okay, you want to give me an Elixir advantage? I'll take it. Bar Barrel out for a +1 trade, and here we are. Beneficious about to tick to 9 as we see Thrill ticking to 10. Beneficious doing what is traditional of him, and that is sending in a mire before he's full on Elixir.
And I really don't mind you defending with 9 against 5 or 6 with this deck. The problem is that you have to do that before you're down 1,000 damage. That's the biggest issue, because now if you continuously defend with 9 or 6, you're never actually going to be able to do enough damage to get back in the game. I would have loved to see that early on, but it might be too late at this point.
We see Beneficious miss a log there. Skeleton's going to come out. Bar Barrel up high to maybe catch that Valkyrie, help tank for it. Mother Witch in behind. Musketeer down low, but Bandit does break through on the left-hand side along with this cannon cart plus Heal Spirit.
And it seems like he's just doing enough to defend. He's not in a comfortable position, and at this point you do need to start getting some damage. That fireball, did it even get on tower?
I'm not 100% sure. I think it did get on tower, but we see him now down a couple of Elixir. He does get a mortar shot, which is very, very good for Beneficious. 1256 to 1878. Beneficious still in this after dropping his first 2 games. He bounces back in game 3, and then in this deciding game number 4, he's hanging on by a thread.
It's crazy how well he plays it once he gets late into the game. It seems like he's always fighting his way back in, and does fight his way back in, and you just kind of wish he didn't take that early damage in all 3 of his games, because it feels like he would have won all of them.
We've talked about that a lot in this tournament, where it seems like players have kind of kicked into gear a little bit, like too little, too late. And it is crazy to see that Beneficious really, it's like the understanding of his deck has gotten exponentially better as this set has gone on. Really, really nice defenses. There's the Skeletons out. This is the efficient, clean defense we're talking about. Nice Royal Delivery there, clean on both sides of the board. And that gap of damage is getting smaller and smaller. Miner goes in for some shit damage here.
It is, and he's playing the way he should have played all 3 games. And in that first game, he came back almost 800 damage. This time he's coming back almost 1,000 damage. Man, I wish Beneficious, I mean, he still has a chance at winning this. The only bad thing for him is Thrill's deck is not the traditional bridge spam no spell. This is actually the one with fireball, so he does have direct damage. So, and if he can just use that E-Wiz defensively, always resetting the miner, it's going to be pretty tough for him.
I really like that push on the right-hand side there from Beneficious. You saw Valkyrie at the bridge, Miner behind, Fireball on top, and that's exactly what we need to see out of him, is the overspend. But there you go. Once again, not enough Elixir in the tank for defense, and it's just these interactions, just 1 Elixir too expensive by Beneficious, and it's really starting to hurt him. Miner goes to the back, Cannon Cart turns around, Bandit plus E-Wiz there, Fireball is in. Nice little swing there from Beneficious, but an expensive one at that.
This is going to be, again, what you just said. Can he understand that, yes, you need the miner, but yes, you also need to defend, and he made the same mistake again. Yeah, great. You can miner all you want, but you need to defend first.
So defense being the name of the game there for Beneficious, and very, very easy for Thrill to just kind of sit back and slow play all of those games. It felt like every single one of those games we just saw almost take the full 5 minutes. And a big part of that was the under aggression from Beneficious and the patience from In-Thrill. And honestly, I liked a lot of what I saw out of Beneficious in that set. It was just, he needed to recognize when to slow down. That's all. That's really all it was.
I loved ever since minute 2 to overtime. And I did not like the first 45 seconds, and I did not like the last 30 seconds of all 3 of the games he played with this mortar. The middle portion was perfect. He defended well. He understood when to miner, and all 3 games got away in the same fashion: early damage and late going miner too early and not defending.
So here we see in game number 3, he switches up the decks, gets some nice damage in with that Lava Hound push, recognizes that there really isn't any great defense for In-Thrill, and then here we go, what you were just saying, not ever having enough elixir to defend adequately was Beneficious. And if he would have just slowed down a bit, got a little bit more aggressive in single elixir, that was the other thing, is he allowed too much damage in single. And the aggression there, I say, is much more of like counter push aggression, as opposed to, you know, just getting over aggressive with the miners, because again, that's what we saw. It's only 3 elixir, but it really did hurt him defensively.
It did. And look, Beneficious, like you said, did not play badly. He needs to perfect it. When you play decks of this archetype, this play style, it needs to be a perfect game to win. Most of these players that use it at a high level, you'll watch their games, and out of 10 games, you won't see more than 1 mistake overall. And that's what it takes if you really want to move on into that international finals, into that CRL placement. Just keep working at it, because he's a good player.
Yeah, and it was also really tough for Beneficious there. He had a graveyard deck that he didn't want to bring out, because he knew the only decks that were remaining after he lost to that Golem deck to start off all had Mother Witch. So he knew that graveyard was going to be really tough to pull off, and you know, he got it out. It just was not great matchup wise with that deck that he had 100% win rate with. So In-Thrill is going to join One Hive Hunter, and that's going to do it for Group F. We are moving on to Group G, who we just saw a couple days ago. A very impressive group here. This was the one that we saw One Hive Hunter kind of come from. We've talked about him a lot today. He had some pretty good competition in this set between those guys. In Eternity and Demon Chocolate. Eternity was the only person in this tournament who we actually saw play the Golem what felt like correctly.
Yeah, he's a Golem player, and it's something that I expected, you expected, Hugo expected, everyone expected. We saw it in the post-match interview that they prepared for it, but when he played it well, it didn't really matter how you prepared. I've had to deal with it firsthand, man. I've lost to Eternity playing that Golem, even when I knew he was gonna play it. So as long as he plays at the best level, I think he's good to go here.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. So Demon Chocolate and Eternity are going to be coming out. I think we're going to be getting their decks on screen here right now. There they are, Eternity and Demon Chocolate. Eternity rocks 2 Golem decks along with that very strong Electro Giant deck. How do you feel Demon's decks match up against what Eternity is going to bring to the table?
The only thing that really scares me about Demon's deck is the lack of DPS apart from the Elite Barbarians. That is the only real DPS damage he has. And these are such heavy, tanky decks that, look, in one of the Golem decks, he has his own Elite Barbarians. So if you defend with Elite Barbarians and he E-barbs himself, it's going to be very tricky. The Mega Knight is not enough. In the other one, yes, he has Fisherman, but it's all about the way Eternity plays. And he's going to have those lightnings ready for a predict to make sure it doesn't get pulled. It could get tricky for him.
And that was one of the things that we really pointed out about Eternity's gameplay, was he had some really brilliant lightning usage with all of his decks that have them, you know, whether it was the Golem deck or that Electro Giant deck. Just the gameplay with those lightnings was really nice. He ran into a force that was Hugo. Hugo took him out in that, you know, final of Group G's group stage, but Demon Chocolate and Eternity are going to be facing off here in this best of 5. And yeah, I mean, when you talk specifically about matchups here, there are good responses in the hand of Demon Chocolate. It's just going to be about where he plays them and when he plays them. I honestly think you just go that Royal Giant deck first, because it does have Fisherman in there, but like you said, Eric, it doesn't have a lot of single target DPS.
Yeah, and if you do play that RG first, you better pray it's not against that he has 2 decks with NATO, Ice Wizard, and we've seen what that does to an RG deck. It is so frustrating over and over again. It just gets pulled back with that Ice Wizard, and it feels like it could just never get on tower.
Yeah, those understanding of those defenses when you have that many options for a Royal Giant, it does feel impossible to get them on tower. So here we go. Eternity going to be rocking a very heavy deck. No surprise there.
Yeah, he basically has 3 golem decks, just one of them electrocutes things.
Yep.
It really comes down to that, and this is the matchup he wanted. He does not have the NATO, Ice Wiz, or a building in this matchup, so if he's gonna win one of them with this RG, it's this one.
Yep, this is the matchup that he was looking for. This is the golem deck from Eternity with the cannon cart. Very, very heavy here, and we'll see just how well these fishermen are played and how much offensive pressure Demon can create. Nice golem there from Eternity, knowing that Fisherman's out of cycle, knowing that Royal Giant's out of cycle, so this means that it has to just be a defensive encounter for Demon.
Yeah, and he knows that exactly what you said. He knows that he only has the elite barbarians right now to defend, and without being worried about that fisherman pull onto King Tower, because let me remind everyone, if you didn't see the decks, this one doesn't have a big spell, so he cannot do anything to counter the fisherman like he would generally with the other ones. That's why it's so important that he takes advantage of all the pushes that don't have the fisherman in cycle, and that Mother Witch just went in.
That is so very fortunate there for Demon, and you can see Eternity shaking his head, knowing that if that Mother Witch did get off the board, that would have been a severe amount of damage in on that right-hand tower, but instead he has to reset and recognize that was not the push for him.
Yeah, it seemed like I thought it was going to be off the board because that baby dragon had already done that, you know, that animation where it's going to go ahead and throw that fire on it, but look, it's Clash, man, and it's all about that timing, and it worked out well for him. Those are the things you can't plan for. You played it really well if you're Eternity, but it just happened that the Mother Witch turned around, they got a hold of the bats, and it didn't work out well. But this is working out pretty nice.
Yeah, ball bounces in the wrong direction there, but now we see a good push coming in. Night Witch going to be cleanup here for the E-Barbs, which will get a good amount of damage in. On the other side of it, we see that golem actually getting on tower.
I really like what he did with that NATO as well. You need to get that Mother Witch off the board, and he knows that the only reason he didn't win the game in the previous push was because of the Mother Witch. He was not about to let that happen again. He NATO'd it all together, and yes, he did spend a lot, but look at the outcome.
Yeah, 387 remains. That last baby dragon belch coming in is brutal. Now we see a Royal Giant come down in the opposite lane. Easy defense there. Eternity knows he can take a lot of damage. E-Barb's going to come in behind to help support, but it is not going to be enough. That cannon cart is so tanky.
He still does need to get something on tower, like we know, and that fisherman is actually going to not be the play here. It does get the Mother Witch, but eventually we knew it was going to pull that golem closer together, and man, when you know how to play a deck, it shows.
Yeah, for sure. And that's exactly what Eternity has done so many times with this golem deck. You know, the fisherman was there, but the thing that you talked about was very, very prevalent in this matchup, Eric, which was just that there was so little single target DPS from, you know, Demon Chocolate there to actually get those golems off the board other than the E-Barbs. And so his opponent recognized that, right? Anytime that my golem's about to cross the bridge, I can just pile on at the river because you're going to have to drop those E-Barbs up high to get this golem down in time.
And now if you're Demon, you're thinking to yourself, okay, both of his decks now have that Ice Wiz NATO combo, and one of them actually has a Goblin Cage as well, and the one that doesn't have a Goblin Cage has Elite Barbarians. How is my RG actually going to break through?
I think he puts the RG on the back burner for at least the next couple of games if he can win them, and I guess maybe it's the one he busts out at the end, but that's also trouble because then you know his opponent is expecting exactly what he's going to bring to the table. So we'll see what Demon Chocolate wants to do. I'd like to see him step away from that deck as for the reasons that you just mentioned. He's going to have an impossible time breaking through. It will not happen. So I think he does have to change things up. I'm not sure exactly which deck he does go to, but you know, Eternity really, really does have a great understanding of how to play these golem decks.
He just played that so perfectly. I don't think everyone else would have been able to not only take control of the game, but make it look so easy. And he does end up switching decks here, which, like you said, is the right play because he just wasn't going to get through. It was going to be a brick wall over and over and over again. And instead of forcing it, it is smart in this format. Yeah, you're going to have to win eventually, and the odds aren't looking great. But at least let me put myself in an opportunity to get some games in, gain some confidence, and maybe apply some pressure.
Yeah, and maybe mess with the mental of your opponent, as we you talked about in just the last match, where we were saying it seemed like it's the person that makes their opponent make a mistake first. It's not just strictly outplaying; it's about making your opponent make mistakes. And so maybe that's what Demon Chocolate can do if he can pick up a game here.
Yeah, he really needs to win this match though, because if you're up 2-0 and you're Eternity and you have a golem deck, the odds are, man, you're gonna win one when you're that good of a golem player. And you have 3 shots at it.
See Eternity not super happy there to have to get his Electro Giant out defensively. It does end up working out. It does get cleaned up off the board for a -2 trade there for Demon Chocolate. He has to defend on that left-hand side with the Barb Barrel, and basically resetting right now. No damage done on either side of the board.
Overall, it wasn't as bad as it seemed, just because he had an elixir lead early on. Yes, it hurts to do so when you look at it visually. You never really want to toss that in, and it's going to disappear. But at the end of the day, it's not all that bad. You mitigated absolutely all damage. I do like that lightning. It stops him. That cannon card originally had forced the Dark Prince out of him, and now he has that Dark Prince for the Elite Barbarians.
Yeah, it's a great lightning. It's an only -1 trade there with tower damage. We see the bandit coming in up high, but well played there by Eternity. He goes low there with the Goblin Cage, and that's just an understanding of all those little micro interactions, looking into the future, waiting for what his opponent has to respond with. I like everything that we just saw there defensively from Eternity.
And that Ewis doesn't actually get it onto the Dark Prince, and that is very important for him. That now he's going offensive. I really like this. He knows the Elite Barbarians were just used, and he can lightning this if he wants to. I'm not sure if he will or not, or if he's gonna wait for the E-barbs, and he might just do that instead.
Yeah, I think he recognizes that he has enough damage here with that NATO coming in.
Wow.
And yeah, you see that E-Giant has about 1/3 of its HP left, but it's still a lot to be dealt with. Bandit connects on the right-hand side. However, that Ice Wizard comes down late. And the winner of this exchange is actually Demon Chocolate.
That is crazy how just one bandit did more damage than that whole push that we just saw on the other side. And that Barb is actually going to get a hit, and that is 2 straight mistakes out of Eternity that I'm not used to seeing, and I don't think anyone is.
That was some beautiful stuff there from Demon Chocolate. You talk about staying in. Wow, the Dark Prince does connect.
I don't even know how that hit. That was
very.
Yeah, that was odd.
Yeah, very unfortunate interaction there.
That was so odd because it felt like it was so far away from actually even being close to hitting. I did not expect that at all. And if I'm being honest, I like this play better than I did the last one. When I said I wanted to see the lightning come in earlier, it's because you want to force out those E-barbs way sooner. The fact that he held it on for the lightning, I think that's what allowed Demon to actually defend. If he early on pushed, you were right. Yes, he did have enough troops to deal with it, but it's how much time you give your opponent. And in this type of situation, you want to make them think fast.
And the other thing that I really like that Demon Chocolate is doing in this game is he's using that Heal Spirit very well as kind of a buffer defensively, right? And those E-barbs connect on that left-hand side. Bandit right behind, and that Electro Giant push in the right-hand lane just needs to die on the vine. Demon Chocolate takes that tower down to 300 HP. This is a massive game for Demon.
Yeah, I really like the way he played this. He really understood that I cannot just sit back. My deck doesn't work like that, and like you said, the Heal Spirits were played perfectly throughout the whole game. It reminds me a little bit of... Oh, I got a little nervous, man.
I know, right? It's insane how fast that Electro Giant can stack damage up. You were saying the Heal Spirit reminds you.
It reminds me a little bit of Jupiter, right? Jupiter was that guy that always seemed to get 700 elixirs worth out of a 1 elixir spirit, and you realize it time and time again. Those Heal Spirits and those Electro Spirits, all these tiny little cards, if you actually get the most value out of them, they're insane.
Yes, and that's like when you talk to the best cycle players in the world and you ask them, why, I remember speaking to Jack about it personally, just being like, why is it that you love decks that cycle so fast? He's like, dude, there are so many opportunities for massive positive elixir trades. I can always oversell on offense because I know I will always get elixir back defensively. And I loved what Demon did with the Heal Spirits there. I thought it was phenomenal. They were immaculate on the side of defense. And then you saw at the very end there, that E-barbs plus Bandit plus Heal Spirit push that broke through. It was great recognition of exactly what we talked about in the last matchup with Beneficius. And again, Beneficius, if you're watching this, I hate to use an example example. I promise you, we're not picking on you, but he just kept being a little bit too aggressive when he needed to be a little bit more defensive, and Demon Chocolate picked his moment perfectly in game number 2.
He sure did. It seemed like every time that he decided to actually get a push in, it was minimum 500-600 value of damage onto tower. And here we're gonna see he's saving that RG for last, which we don't mind, but we know it's gonna be very tough to actually win with it.
Yeah, we're hoping, I mean, I guess we should say he is hoping that he can get in the mind of his opponent so that when he does get into that final game with that horrible matchup that, you know, maybe Eternity is so tilted at that point. But I got to be honest, Eric, Eternity doesn't seem like the type of guy that's going to let something like that get to him. It's almost like I feel like he's holding on to the fact that he knows that when that matchup comes to the table, he's just going to win.
Yeah, it definitely seems like that. It seems like, okay, you want to get a couple game wins in, no problem, because you're still going to have to win with the other one. And if that's his mindset, I think it's the correct one. If you do go down 1-2, it's not all that big of a deal. You know exactly how to play that other matchup, and you know he's going to have a very tough time. So yeah, Demon could say I'm up 2-1, but you're up 2-1 having the hardest possible matchup left.
And you see this, a massive spend from Demon Chocolate. 13 elixir out to defend. He does not get the Mega Knight off the board. Mega Knight going to leap on top of that Ice Wizard and tank for the Elite Barbarian. So a good counter push here coming from Demon Chocolate. Bar Barrel down, though, going to kill all that on the Vine.
I watch it over and over and over again, and it still surprises me how much damage that E-Giant does once it actually gets on tower. It seemed like he defended pretty well, and all it took was 2 seconds of an E-Giant on tower to basically lose half of it.
Oh, and look at that.
Yeah.
The one piggy goes off the board with the NATO there, and the help of the other tower doesn't activate King. And now ahead by over 700 damage is Demon Chocolate once again.
Yeah, and those are the moments that tilt you. It's not actually losing the game. It's mismanaging your NATOs, your interactions gone wrong, because that's when you start doubting a little in your head, right? Am I just not playing well? What's going on? Is it not the matchup? He had control, and that he needs to be careful now.
Nice E-Wiz there to reset that Baby Dragon. Keeps the Flying Machine on the board for at least 1 moment longer. Barb Barrel comes in to take out that Mother Witch, but she's still alive. A nice, a medium NATO to pull everything in. Yeah, it would have been really great to get that Mother Witch off the board a bit sooner.
I agree with you. Once I saw it, I thought it was a really nice NATO, but it actually ended up not working as well as he thought because of the body block coming in. And I honestly think he's in a nice position here.
Yeah, it's very interesting because Eternity is going to be in a good spot to keep getting lightning value. Nice sneak there with the Flying Machine. Baby Dragon has to come down. Hog's behind, and I think Demon Chocolate might... Oh, great NATO.
Yeah, that was a really nice NATO. He had to do it no matter what. It wasn't really of a choice, either the NATO or lose the game. But over and over again, he seems to just be doing just enough. And in Clash, doing just enough usually doesn't end up well.
And look at the brilliant recognition here from Demon to keep that Mother Witch on the board. That's going to take the tower. That's going to do it just like that.
Yeah, that's it. Demon Chocolate up 2-1. So far, what we said is working out. It's exactly what we expected. Look, you didn't win the 1 RG matchup that you really wanted. Okay, what do I do now? Let me get some games on the board. Let me apply the pressure, and hopefully the added pressure with my momentum can force a mistake and open up the game for me to actually take this set.
You know, there's been cards in the game for a long time, like the Princess, Magic Archer. When you miss a spell and they start piling up, it can be really brutal. Then the Firecracker came into the game, and it was another card where when you missed a spell, it was so infuriating. But you saw right there the value that Mother Witch got late game at the bridge, spawning piggy after piggy after piggy. We saw a E-Wiz come down to defend, a Bar Barrel to come down to defend, and it was that Mother Witch staying alive that cost Eternity to the game. I mean, I can't tell you how many things are more frustrating in the game than just that one interaction. There can't be many when a Mother Witch stays alive and just keeps spawning and you are pouring elixir into it and you cannot get her off the board. It's
so frustrating. And it's like you said, I think the card that most bothered me early on when it first came into the meta was that Firecracker, because you have to time the Firecracker pushing itself back if it does lock on. And I don't know how many times I've missed a spell, and I've seen people miss a spell, and it's just like you said, the amount of utility and the amount of value that you get in if you don't actually get it off the board is unlike any other card.
So Demon Chocolate has to go back to a deck that did him dirty early on, that Royal Giant deck. It's very strong in the meta right now, but not when you're running into what Eternity has here. Baby Dragon, NATO, Ice Wiz, Cage, all of the things to make sure that Royal Giant never breaks through.
And that's actually a really good start from Demon Chocolate, and it could be a little bit of what we just said. Can the pressure get to him? Can you force out some mistakes, some unusual play? And that I don't love. As much as I said I love the start from Demon Chocolate, I don't love just throwing in an RG when you know that your opponent has Elite Barbarians.
This time, Demon Chocolate was ready to go with a handful of responses, but he has to overspend down to 0.
Wow.
Now his opponent is up 4 Elixir. Gets a decent amount of damage in, stays alive, but yeah, I agree. I think that Royal Giant at the bridge and single Elixir is a really, really tough play to pull off, because it's literally 6 Elixir that gives you no value on the back end and also provides no offensive damage to those counter push troops, right? Like, at least in an Electro Giant, you're going to do a little bit of damage to the defensive troops, but that Royal Giant does absolutely nothing. And now we're going to see Demon reap the rewards of his overspend early.
This is rough, man. I don't think he realized early on how much Elixir he was up, and a really nice NATO there to make sure that there's no King Tower activation. I don't think he realized originally the amount of Elixir he was up, because I think he would have golemed instead of Night Witch, and this push would have probably been even tougher to defend. But once he saw nothing go down on the field for what it seemed like 3 to 4 seconds, he was like, okay, I golem here on the bridge. He's down major.
Yeah, it would have been nice if he started that push from the back with the golem. It would have been most likely tower down, but still doing what we saw him do a lot of the other day, which is playing very, very patient here with that. And what was that all about?
The Mother Witch placement, I don't know what exactly he was trying to do, but why, right? You know how much value it gets out of the bats from the Night Witch, and it's gonna create extra defense needed out of Eternity, and you basically just threw that away.
Demon Chocolate somehow gets another Mother Witch on the board. Lightning comes down to take it off. He does spawn a Piggy, but is down in damage now, and he is working towards the lane with his, a lot more damage in. So we'll see when Han, the Eternal, or Eternity, wants to set up that golem in this lane.
And what he's doing well, I don't know if it's what he's doing well or what Eternity is messing up, is that he hasn't been able to get one combo in of the deadly defense, and it's that Ice Wiz with the NATO combo that we've seen over and over again. Why are you spending your Ice Wiz so far back knowing he could just RG on the bridge? Not really sure.
There's an RG up high. I like that. Turn it around. Stay on offense. Mother Witch, though, does get pushed back with that log. Stays on the board. Baby Dragon does not take it off the board. That's big. One big shot in from the Royal Giant. Barbs come down. More Piggy's going to spawn as long as that Mother Witch can reset, and she does. You see Eternity starting to get overwhelmed. Eric, this could do it.
This is an moment, because that Mother Witch that we just spoke about stayed on the board, and that's it. Game over. Demon just comes back, and look, this is not the way we're used to seeing Eternity play golem decks. There was just mistake after mistake after mistake, and it could definitely be what we spoke about. Get yourself in a position, put some pressure on the board from him, really make him feel the heat. 1 or 2 mistakes could be it.
I'm speechless, man. That was such a great 1, 2, 3 from Demon. I mean, he looked completely out of sorts, out of whack in game number 1. He was not able to keep up with Eternity. Eternity completely controlled that game. He did exactly what he needed to do. He reset. He got a different deck out. He goes 1, 2, punch, and it really stuns and dazes Eternity. He came out in game 3, and we have never seen him play a deck that uncomfortably. That was incredible stuff from Demon, turning that Mother Witch into his win condition.
It was, as soon as I saw that Mother Witch, it was the Elite Barbarians that he put in front of them that were so smart. Once those Elite Barbs came in front of the Mother Witch, you kind of felt there was no way he was getting it off the board, and you just saw bats spawning, and I'm like, okay, this is where you wish the Mother Witch didn't spawn 4 bats when it gets wiped off the board. There was just nothing he could do.
There was 2 times in this set, Eric, where we saw that Mother Witch survive with a sliver of HP and then turn the entire game around. And there we go. Demon picks up game number 1. Here we go. That piggy's still alive with the poison. Eternity's starting to get tilted. You can see it in his face right there, wondering what on earth just happened. And at this point, he already knew it was wrapped up. Furious, I'm sure, about that Mother Witch value in games 3 and 4.
And look, congratulations to Demon. He understood the format of this competition and he won not only because of that, it was great gameplay as well, but being so smart and understanding, look, I'm not going to get a win when he has the momentum. And if I just keep running this RG deck, it's not going to work for me. Let me switch it off. Let me take control of this set and then figure out what I'm going to do. He was so smart and really hats off to him.
Yeah, and you can see there the RG deck is his best deck. It's the one that he has the highest win percentage with, but still that great recognition of putting it on the bench, trying other decks out, making things happen. He made space to create damage with that Mother Witch time and time again. Really, really incredible stuff. So we will see Demon Chocolate facing off against Hugo once again. And I'll be honest, we saw a different Demon today than we did earlier this week when he battled it out. I believe it was on Wednesday or Tuesday, but you know, we'll see what he has for Hugo in their rematch. If they do end up playing each other once again, I'd be very, very excited to see Demon with some new decks and some new confidence. But Hugo was really, really clean. As you can see, he only dropped 1 game the entire day, and that game was to Eternity, a very, very strong player in this Group G.
You said it perfectly. We saw a different Demon. He won 3-2 against someone that got 3-0'd, right? It seemed like he was just barely inching his way into here, and I don't know if it was that he studied well, he understood the way Eternity played, or what happened. He just gained a lot of confidence. But the way he played today, I think if he played this way, he would have given Hugo a run for his money, if not even possibly beat him.
Yeah, I mean, hopefully he's going to take some of that confidence and ride it into the international finals that will be taking place in a couple weeks, guys. We will not be back next week, but we will be back on May 10th to start working through our final 16 players. But first, we have our final BO5 of the day, Group H, where SB came out and played very, very well against a very unorthodox and a very enjoyable player to watch in Abdullah Imad.
I'm excited, man. We know what we're gonna get here. We're gonna get a lot of towers down. Abdullah, man, I don't want to play against you, but I definitely enjoy watching you play. This is gonna be fun to watch. And look, we said it in the first time around. He is fortunate in a sense that there is no Mother Witch in the majority of the decks he's going up against, because if you look at his lava decks, not only is lava not great against Mother Witch when all those pups come out, he also has Skarmy and he has minions. But yeah, he got here not really having to go up against it as much, and he does have it in 2 decks, so he needs to be careful.
Yeah, No Fun and Abdullah have not faced each other yet in this set specifically, or in this Group H. So it'll be very exciting to see how these decks face and fare against one another. I mean, I think the first thing that I'm recognizing here, Eric, is that there's only 1 building in all 3 decks of No Fun. And obviously, Abdullah being the player he is with tower-seeking troops, and heavy tower-seeking troops at that. Other than the Mother Witch and the buildings, how do you think this is matchup-wise when you talk about spells, you talk about DPS? Do we give favor to anyone, or is it just favor to Abdullah because he has 2 Lava Hounds and he doesn't lose with them?
Okay, Abdullah, first off, if you play the RG, no offensive Infernal Towers this time, please, because you need them defensively. Other than that, look, he has 1 deck, which we spoke about. Ice Wiz, Goblin Cage, NATO is great against RG as long as you have it and you save it. The positive side is he doesn't really need to use it for anything else, like we just saw Eternity have to use it against the Elite Barbarians. This RG deck from No Fun doesn't have any pressure other than that, and it doesn't have a reset for the Infernal Tower either. So I think both of those decks match up great against the RG, and that's going to be the real struggle point, in my opinion, for No Fun.
I'd be really surprised if we saw Abdullah run something other than Lava Hound first, but I do think that if he goes that Electro Giant deck first, it puts him in a better position. And conversely, I do think that No Fun maybe goes with his Graveyard deck. I believe that's what it was at the bottom right-hand side of the screen. I think that there's a good way to create opposite lane pressure there, and there was a lot of great cleanup for all of those troops that we were just speaking on. So here we go. No Fun with the patented side view, and Abdullah with the patented early arrows. 3 elixir out. You know he's running that lava.
And I chuckled just because I know he threw those arrows down right away just because he doesn't have lava in starting hand. Look how
Yes.
quickly he's trying to get to that lava starting hand. And you know it's the reason, because it's not like he's been waiting. He's trying to figure out cycle. No, he threw everything down. He's like, where is my lava? And he keeps going.
Wow, look at that. The lightning comes in just in time, takes the Goblin Brawler off the board. His opponent has 7 elixir down, but that Inferno is going to clear everything up. We see No Fun go to the Graveyard deck, which is what I was hoping he would do.
This is
but
good.
That yeah, that's really good. That's very, very good.
Yeah, and I mean, it really pays off. The fact that Abdullah went all in just trying to get the lava in the hand. It seems like... Yeah, and Abdullah kind of looks at his phone and says, you know, I might have messed up a little bit there. But as much as I love how offensive he is, you can't always depend on the lava being there. And when it's not there, it's okay to change your playstyle until you get it. You don't have to go that hard, that strong early on.
Yeah, you have to have a contingency plan, right? You can't just expect to have that winning hand every single time. So now we see No Fun going heavy here on offense to try to create some sort of response here from Abdullah, but he should know that there's no response that's going to come out. And Abdullah gets this balloon down. Balloon is targeted by the baby dragon, not by the tower.
What he tried to do was place it in a position where it couldn't get pulled, or it wouldn't get pulled if the Goblin Cage wasn't played in the right spot. And it definitely didn't work up to his favor. I think not only did it get targeted from the baby dragon, he didn't have to wait to NATO it once he gets a hit on tower. It was just overall bad play. He got a little ahead of himself, and he's trying to do too much with too little because of how much damage he took early on.
Yeah, and that's exactly why I wanted to see No Fun run this Graveyard deck first, as I had a feeling it would be able to very, very easily defend and punish with counter pushes, because you know Abdullah is that sellout, knockout punch kind of player. I honestly think the arrows, bomber, minions were okay. Eric, it was just that lightning that came in that really hurt him. I think that extra lightning on top of the Goblin Cage, Goblin Brawler, and then the Princess Tower, allowing that baby dragon and the Ice Wizard to be completely healthy was really the problem there. Yeah, you called it. Great NATO to activate King, Skeleton Army to come down to defend here, but Balloon's going to come out, and it's just not going to be enough in time. 10 seconds remain, and he should be back around to another tornado.
Yeah, he'll be okay. Even if it does hit, it's not enough damage, so it would need it to actually die and do the little rotating timer on the bomb, and it's just not enough time on the clock for him. And man, I feel like Abdullah needs to understand that you're not going to get lava every time, and when you don't get it, you have to play a different game, whether you like it or not. It's not all about just getting the lava down. Like you said, contingency plan. Not only that, but really understanding the full deck. Your deck could defend. He had minions for a graveyard. He has an Infernal Tower to stop the troops in its tracks. It's not like he was in a bad position. Just wait.
Yeah, he got way too aggressive early on. And again, that's why I think No Fun made the correct decision running that deck. I thought Abdullah would have fared better if he ran the Electro Giant deck, but you know, that wasn't really what the conversation was about, because we know how he plays. We knew he was most likely going to come out with Lava Hound, and I love what No Fun did here. He knew exactly what to expect from his opponent. He saved that tornado to get on top of the Skarmy, knowing that that was most likely what Abdullah would want to play to clear up that graveyard, especially because the bomber and minions were out of cycle, right? There was really only one response.
And it looks like he's doing it again. It kind of looks like the same start as last time, and I hope there's no lightning coming in here. That would just be not the play right now. At least there's no lightning, and look at the difference, right? Last time it was basically the same start, but he would have lightning that Mother Witch. He's starting Balloon in the back. I'm expecting to see a lava in front of Balloon at some point here.
And he does get the lava out, and wow, look at that. Look at that absolute perfect placement on the Lava Hound. It gets both the Skeleton Dragons and the Princess Tower. Maybe that's the best Lava Hound placement I've ever seen. That was incredible.
Yeah,
I don't know how that happened.
It was perfect lava placement, and I guess you get that from playing so much. Practice makes perfect, as we've said over the time, and not only in Clash but in everything. And you could tell, because I probably would have stuck it right in front of the balloon just to make sure, or else I would have gotten panic mode.
Yeah, I mean, I honestly don't play Lava Hound enough to know those interactions, and I thought there was basically no way for him to get both the Skeleton Dragons and the Princess Tower, but very, very nice opening there from Abdullah. And now this is, this is kind of par for the course, right? The Graveyard deck isn't in response here, or isn't in play for No Fun anymore. Abdullah does get his Lava Hound out early on, and he takes a big lead.
And he's going right back at it, and I really like those dragons. That was a very heads up play, and it seemed like he knew exactly what was coming from Abdullah. Now you do need that log quicker. If that same interaction, but he's just hovering the log, that's tower down.
Yeah, and there's a couple times where you've said that in the tournament, Eric, where if you're just hovering, it's better. And, when you watch a lot of the best players in the world streaming, you'll see that they use both their thumbs, right? They have two responses ready to go on two different parts of the map, and then they'll drag one back and drop the other. And that's a really, really important thing to do. You and I were both expecting that Skarmy to come down after the Inferno was out of play. The log, I mean, No Fun was expecting it too with how quickly that log came out, but he should have been hovering it. Would have been much better for him.
It seemed like it was one of those moments where you kind of hover and then you stop hovering because you're like, okay, it would have come down by now. And then as soon as he stopped hovering, it actually did come down. That's what it seemed like to me. Lightning comes down, and that loon, he's very, very lucky that it didn't get another hit. I really like that. Did that heal spirit actually? I think it died to the death damage from the loon.
Oh, yeah, maybe. And now we see a massive lead in favor of Abdullah. We get this Royal Giant up very, very high to meet that Inferno Tower, but that Inferno is going to go down pretty quickly. Does get a decent amount of sizzle in.
Yeah, that was actually very, very nice placement out of him. If he would have gone the traditional placement, there was no shot he was defending that, because he did predict it with the Fisherman. But, hey, Mother Witch, Mother Witch, Mother Witch. How many times have we seen it actually win the game? And look at this. No.
Yeah, man, I was just going to say, Lightning or Royal Giant in the pockets, what do you need? Mother Witch stays on the board, spawns more and more piggies with that Skarmy, and Abdullah is 0 for 2 with Lava Hound today, with some beautiful matchups from No Fun and some great deck choice.
Day one, we said it. He got away with his opponents not having Mother Witch in their decks. Today was going to be different. No Fun has it in 2 decks. You have Skarmy, you have Lava, both cards that give way too much value over to the Mother Witch. You need to get it off the board over and over again. The Lightnings need to be dedicated to that card. Unfortunately, it's not a very expensive card, so it's not like you're getting a lot of value out of your Lightnings, but if not, you're going to lose the game.
Yeah, and if we can take a look at the decks really, really quickly here, there we are. Thank you so very much for that. So all 3 decks still in play here for Abdullah on the left-hand side of your screen. On the right-hand side of your screen, we're going to see that bottom right deck, the Royal Hogs, the Mega Knight, the Mother Witch, the Flying Machine, and I'm very curious to see what Abdullah will run back. Does he just continue to go to the skies, or does he try the Electro Giant out, even though it's not his comfort?
Knowing Abdullah, he's gonna go Lava just because it's his, his deck. But at the same time, I don't really mind this for no. Oh, he actually did not. He went with the E Giant. I'm gonna need to see how he plays it. We saw a little bit of mistakes come out early on in this deck, and it was the one that he most struggled with. He was great with the Lava, but remember we mentioned that he was playing this deck as if it was a Lava.
Yes, exactly. And I'm really glad that you're highlighting that again, because it was one of the things that SB was noticing when he played against him and ended up beating him. Really, really good stuff from Abdullah with the Lava Hound, but the moment that he started playing with that Electro Giant, he started making some very, very big and glaring mental mistakes. So we'll see if he's cleaned those up at all over the last couple days.
It's already looking better, because one of his biggest mistakes with this deck was that he was E-Gianting in the back in single elixir like he was doing with the Lava. So the fact that I haven't seen it come down yet, he started very, very calm. He put a nice whiz down, he defended. That's what I like to see, and if he continues to play it, this should be a good matchup for him.
So here we go. Zappy split in the back, Bomber back down. We're seeing a very patient Abdullah, which is nice. He is running the version with a Goblin Cage, which is going to help with those piggies down the line.
And yeah, also another very good point for No Fun in this matchup is that the fact that he has zappies. The zappies are actually great defense against the Electro Giant. You need to place them well far back enough to the point where he cannot NATO everything. So you want to do zappies all the way back and then try and get a Mega Knight in behind the Electro Giant. That way it's a very hard NATO, and the zappies make it almost impossible for it to actually get onto your tower.
So let's hope that Abdullah has made that same recognition that you have early on to try to create some offensive presence, and then conversely, no fun. Sounds like you spelled out his defense. We'll see exactly how that works here. Pretty nice lightning there. Cleans off one of the zappies, and a flying machine gets damage in as we are in double.
Yeah, I don't mind the lightning, but he does need to be very careful now with a nice split lane push that will probably split the Hoggies here. He does have so much splash that it's going to be so hard for Hoggies to actually get any damage. And I think what he hasn't done yet that I would love to see him do a little bit more is get flying machine value.
So trying to do that right now is no fun. And there we go. High Mega Knight cleans up things behind. Lightning comes in to take that flying machine off the board. But that is a massive, massive hit early on. Electro Giant on the tower, taking that down to 600 HP. You see the quick tilt to the head there from No Fun, and that's exactly what this deck does to you, man. It punishes you so quickly.
Yeah, and the thing I've noticed is he's been playing the flying machines over and over again, way too close to his tower. The flying machine radius is very, very large. We know that. That's how you get value out of it. That's why I said it, and we saw it again. You need to get value out of that because he doesn't have fireball, he doesn't have poison, and if you can force out lightnings onto flying machines, it's going to be very nice for you. And I think that's the biggest mistake overall.
Yeah, he needs to get flying machines up high and offset to the right-hand side. The flying machine will still turn and help defend the left, but then, like you said, Eric, not giving away that monumental lightning value. And there we go. Fireball in to try to create a little bit of space, but that Ice Wizard in the back is just doing so much work. Barely any damage comes in on either tower.
And that's going to be it. Well played from Abdullah, who, look, he definitely did his homework. He did his homework on why he was losing with this deck. There is no way he plays this same style of E-Giant if this was the first day of the competition.
And you look at No Fun pulling off his patented.
Oh, come on,
very,
Abdullah,
very
man. You're still down in this set. Don't... I don't like this.
Come on. I don't like that either.
I don't like
that either.
I think, and SB said it earlier, he was happy to beat Abdullah because he said Abdullah always BMs me on ladder. And at this point, look, you can BM, it's okay, but just finish the game. You're still down 2-1, and you still have to win with the lava decks that you lost with. And yeah, this was a good matchup, but the other ones aren't as great.
Yeah, I got to admit, man, that's a moment there that might have swung my favor in that direction of No Fun. We try to stay as unbiased as we can here up in the booth, but that little bit of BM is a lot to throw at someone who was up 2 games, as you just said, 2-1 in a set. Now you have to go back to Lava Hound, which he hasn't been playing very well, but you know what? Abdullah's the pro. We are not, or at least I'm not. You used to be a coach, so he could do whatever he wants out there on the field. No Fun needs to recognize that the Lava Hound decks from Abdullah were not doing what they did earlier this week, and he just needs to sit back and play the way that he has been. It was really just one Electro Giant breaking through on the left-hand side that changed that entire game. Yeah,
now we see that he has Lava in hand. You need to have something ready for the Skarmy. That's his only... And does he not have Skarmy?
He maybe doesn't play it, but yeah, I mean, you feel like you still have to play it just in case. Bomber goes off, tower down early on, 10 elixir in hand to defend. Nice barb barrel there to take the bomber off the board, and then the flying machine late to get this balloon down. I like the zappies as well, should mitigate a second drop from that balloon.
I really like the way he played this, and the zappies are off the board, but overall, this was great interaction, and what a nice Mother Witch. That is what I like to see. Get that value, force the lightning out, it misses the flying machine, and now you can go in again if you want. Yeah, he decides not to, or he does. I do like this. This is what I like to see, because now, if he lavas again, if he lavas in the back, he has no Skarmy in hand. So your elite barbarians have a free road to the tower, and you see No Fun kind of bobbing his head a little bit. It might be the fact that he just realized, okay, lava, go ahead. You have nothing else to defend.
Yeah, I think he legitimately had the exact same realization that you did, Eric. He goes, perfect. There it is. Lava down, E-Barb's at the bridge. Minions have to come out in response. A spell comes down on top, and that's another massive hit to Abdullah's towers. And just like that, No Fun has turned this set back in his favor monumentally. Beautiful stuff there early on, recognizing the cycle of his opponent, using the Mother Witch to the utmost, and now it is a 2-tower game with a massive lead.
And I would like a good flying machine here, and then I would like the Zappies spread out a little bit more than last time. That's not what I like to see. I would like to see them more spread out, just because now you give him that death damage from the balloon, and the arrows take it out. That's the exact reason. So I think a little bit of a mistake there, but overall he's still in a decent position. He's gonna force out a Skarmy here, probably. No, that was also very nicely played from Abdullah. Why? Because the Mother Witch was there to predict the Skarmy.
Yep, Skarmy doesn't come down. Instead, minions do. Mother Witch goes off the board, not able to spawn those piggies. Now Mega Knight comes down in the pocket. Good play there. Maybe we see E-Barbs on the other side. Yes, we do. Skarmy goes down on the left-hand side. Bomber on the right. Abdullah in danger of being 3-crowned. A great fireball in to get that bomber off the board. E-Barbs taking that tower down to 841, but still alive and still with some breathing room.
I'm nervous for him, man. And at this point, he still needs to defend. That Skarmy was, I was just about to say, I don't like those hoggies because there is a Skarmy in play, and you need to take care of that balloon.
Mother Witch low, arrows in, bomber in.
Yeah, that I don't really like.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, I was gonna say it's game over.
That's it.
He won.
That's game over.
Yeah, he as soon as I saw it, I knew that he was in trouble because it was unnecessary. The reason No Fun was winning this over and over again was because of the fact that he waited on the lava. He waited on this and then went in. There was no reason to get hyper aggressive. You already have the game in your hands, and as soon as he did that, it didn't work out for him.
Yeah, and the other thing too is that hyper aggression, we talked about it with the Royal Giant earlier. It's the same thing with the Royal Hogs, right? You get really, really aggressive with the Royal Hogs, and they don't create anything other than just elixir given to your opponent, right? They defend perfectly with the Skarmy. All the skeletons are still on the board. You can't drop anything else down in the pocket because they'll get taken off the board. You have to defend on the other side of it. And it was really those recognitions that No Fun made early on and that you called out and pointed out, Eric, that really gave him the upper hand for most of that game. It was when he started playing like Abdullah, swinging for the fences, that he really found himself hurting.
It's crazy because if he didn't do those elite barbarians, right, and he would have just been patient, as soon as that Skarmy drops behind the Mega Knight, imagine he Mother Witches there.
I know. I kept waiting for the Mother Witch down low.
And it's the fact that he decided to go hyper aggressive instead of reactionary, which is how you win the game versus someone like Abdullah. Here, this is not a good push. Last time it was smart that he went elite barbarians because he knew that he has bombers. Now a bomber gets a lot of value onto those hoggies, and he has to be careful here.
Yeah, I honestly feel like that hoggy send was a little bit of a showing or a sign of a tilt. And now we see this Inferno Dragon gonna take those off the board. Really nice arrows plus snowball. Flying Machine gonna go off the board. Inferno gonna get on tower and tank for those pups. Fireball comes in. Nice fireball, but no barb barrel in response.
And there's no Mother Witch elixir yet. Yeah, that's gonna be tower.
And you see No Fun just furious with how this is starting. Abdullah off to a great start. He's gonna get that bomber back down. No Fun, you gotta wake up, man. You're still in the game.
He's still in the game, but it seems like his head is just somewhere else after losing that previous match, right? He knew he had it, and now this start is so tilting for him. But look, man, you're gonna get more opportunities. If there's someone that's gonna continue to push, it's the guy right in front of you. So keep going and don't stop. He's not gonna just sit back and defend.
And Abdullah busting out the BM. He does feel like he's probably got this set wrapped up, and he will pull off the reverse sweep if he does pick up this 5th and final game. Starting off really, really rough with his patented Lava Hound Dex, but bouncing back with Electro Giant.
And he's doing the same thing with the Zappies again and again and again. And look, at this point, he's losing the game himself. He knows the way Abdullah's gonna play. There's no surprise that every time that lava comes down, it's going to have a balloon behind it. You need to change up your defense if you continue to lose your towers. It's just not going to keep working. And now a bomber should come down, and it's going to be the same thing over and over again.
And you get the well played out from Abdullah. The BM, it really is just pouring in now as that tower does go down, which is great for no fun, but now you see a very, very healthy Lava Hound on the opposite side of the board and two very unhealthy towers.
Yeah, that I don't know how he's gonna defend the left, but he needs to make sure that bomber doesn't hit. If it does, it would have been quite the issue for him. And here we go. Zappies are just going to get snowballed arrows again and again and again. And it seems like there's no real response out of him, or no real showing of, I'm going to switch it up and risk it all.
Wow. Yep. And that's it. You can see No Fun is beyond tilted right now. He's gone from the camera. His tower is gone from the map. And just like that, Abdullah Imad comes out with Lava Hound, not able to pull it off, and then pulls off the reverse sweep after starting the downhill effect with the Electro Giant, which he played very differently than on Wednesday.
Yeah, he definitely played that E-Giant to a whole nother level. It seemed like he was lost the first time he played E-Giant, the first couple times. But maybe he went back, watched the broadcast, watched some pointers, talked to some friends, practiced it a little more, and understood that if I want to win with it, I cannot play the same way as I do with Lava. Because if there's one thing I did notice, he did not change anything about the way he plays with Lava.
No, he absolutely did not. And in game number 1, you saw him get punished for it. No Fun had his number with that great graveyard deck. It was the perfect decision to make. He knew Abdullah was going to run Lava Hound, and he played it to perfection. Game number 2, you know, very, very clean as well. Great Mother Witch plays was really what won him the game in games 1 and 2. You see that Royal Giant in the pocket. But then game number 3, Eric, is when everything started to turn around.
And you see him slowly losing his mind. When that BM got to him, man. And look, I don't want to say this, but you have to be just as mentally strong as you are good at the game if you actually want to succeed in Clash. It is what it is, man. I'm sorry. I as a coach, I knew which players to BM, and I did it in competition. You know how I am, man. I took out everything that I needed to do to win, and I knew which players tilted, and I would tell my players, I had a list, and I would say, Diego, if you're winning this, you're BMing. Serge, if you're winning against this player, start BMing early. And that's part of the game.
And you know what? That is a very, very brilliant thing for you to point out as a coach, because in the moment that Abdullah did it, it tilted me. It tilted you. We both said it on broadcast. We didn't like it. But you know what? My hat goes off to him. He knew exactly what to do to get in his opponent's head. And honestly, man, if I were Abdullah and I saw No Fun's reaction to losing that game, oh man, I would have poured it on just like he did. And it worked out. It worked out really, really well. And SB and Abdullah are going to be the 2 winners from Group H. Maybe we'll see them face off again. I'd love to see that. You know, there's a little bit of bad blood in the water there. But, you know, I think the point that you just made is really sound, man. If you know you can get in the head of your opponent, do it. You take every legal advantage that you can in Clash Royale.
Absolutely. And if you know that you're a player that gets tilted, mute those emotes right away. As soon as that game starts, you're muting. Fortunately for me, my players never really were affected by it, so they never did it. But I always told them, if you feel that you need to, go ahead and mute. There is nothing wrong with it, and just make sure mentally you're okay. And right now, Abdullah used it to his advantage, as well. He did play that E-Giant very well, and he did what he had to do with the Lava.
So we have our final 16: Lucas, Blaz, So-Called, Denbeer, Burkan, Demas, Financier, Predator, from groups A through D. And then, as you saw today, Broken will be joined by Aslan. One Hive will be joined by In Thrill. Hugo will be met by Demon Chocolate. And of course, SB and Abdullah, the 2 from Group H. You and I, Eric, will be back on May 10th at 9 a.m. Pacific, 6 p.m. CEST, 12 p.m. Eastern Time. But since we do have a week off and all these players get to reset their decks, reset their matchups, figure anything and everything out, do you have any pointers for our competitors to kind of maybe look at over the next week that they have off to prepare?
Absolutely. I think this is going to be a week where you not only have to practice, but strategy is going to come into play. This is where you're going to play the best players. Some of them have full-time analysts. SB has one. You know, people like Hugo, Lucas, who have been around the game for so long. They're going to work with friends of theirs, with their analysts. You cannot be as predictable as you were before. And please use the meta to your advantage.
Yes, use the meta to your advantage. You saw how great that paid off for so many players here in the group stage, which is all finished here at Gamestars League. As I said, we'll be back on May 10th to start our international finals, where the final 16 players will be battling it out for that lion's share of over $30,000. We're giving away over $40,000 in total. So for Eric Benamou, I'm Andrew Guy, and for Gamestars League, we'll be back on May 10th. Don't you move a muscle. Turn on those notifications, and we'll see you soon.